Hell is empty, and all the devils are here. This quote from William Shakespeare's play The Tempest was the first thing that came to my mind as I researched this case, filled with wickedness, inhumanity, and injustice. Hello, it's me again, and today we're going to delve into the infamous Hello Kitty murder case that took place in Hong Kong in 1999. A case that shocked the entire nation when they couldn't believe that such brutal crimes had been committed on what they once thought was safe ground. The horror combined the evilness of demons with a beloved character created as a symbol for little girls, Hello Kitty. The story took place in Hong Kong in the spring of 1999 when a young woman working at a nightclub was kidnapped, tortured, and raped in an apartment in Tsim Sha Tsui after she stole money from a regular customer's wallet. Man-yee was held captive by 3 men and a girl before she died around April 14th to 15th, 1999. Her body was dismembered, and her head was stuffed inside a Hello Kitty mermaid doll, giving the case its chilling name. Born in 1976 in Shenzhen, Man-yee was abandoned by her family at a young age. She grew up in an orphanage for girls in Kowloon. At 15, she had to leave the orphanage because that was the age limit for children to stay there. Becoming a homeless drug addict, Man-yee was forced to become a street prostitute until she turned 21 when she started working at a brothel named Romance Villa in Sham Shui Pa. There, she met a client who would later become her husband in 1996. They had a son together and were living in Mong Kok. Man-yee's husband was described as violent, as their neighbors were often awakened by the sound of the couple arguing and the child crying from their apartment. After giving birth to their son, Man-yee decided to turn her life around to give her son a better and happier life. She quit drugs, left prostitution, got a new job at a nightclub called Empress Karaoke, and divorced her abusive husband. However, these changes also meant her income was much lower than before, and life for the mother and son became very difficult. Man-yee met Chan Man-lok, 34, in 1997 at one of the brothels where she worked. He was a member of the Triads, a large criminal organization in China. Man-lok was a regular client and tended to be violent when high on methamphetamine. Having been beaten by Man-lok while he was high, Man-yee wanted nothing more to do with him. However, she made a serious mistake when she stole a wallet containing around 4,000 Hong Kong dollars from him. After being caught, Man-yee immediately returned the money, but Chan Man-lok wanted more and demanded an additional 10,000 Hong Kong dollars in interest. Even after paying that, Man-lok kept raising the interest and demanding more. When she was unable to provide the additional 16,000 Hong Kong dollars that Man-lok demanded, on March 17, 1999, he and his 2 accomplices, Leung Xingqiu and Leung Wailuan, planned to kidnap Man-yee. The 3 criminals took her to an apartment on number 31 Granville Road in Tsim Sha Tsui, Hong Kong. The apartment was decorated entirely with a Hello Kitty theme, from bed sheets and curtains to towels and household items. This was where she was held captive for a month. Initially, Chan Man-lok planned to force her into prostitution to pay off her debt. However, he soon changed his mind and decided to use her for amusement and torture instead. Thus began a month of nightmares for the young woman. While held captive, she was tortured and raped, beaten with iron rods, hung up to be used as a punching bag, and kicked in the head about 50 times in a row. They rubbed spices into her wounds. Her legs were scarred by melted candle wax and hot plastic to the point where she could no longer walk normally, and she was forced to eat human feces. Even during the torture, she was made to smile and say she enjoyed being beaten. If she didn't comply, they would torture her even more brutally. Eventually, around April 14th to 15th, 1999, while the criminals were out of the apartment, Man-yee succumbed to her injuries and died. After discovering her body, unsure of what to do, they played video games while thinking. Then, they decided to dismember her body and cook it in a large pot. During this process, they got hungry and decided to cook food in another pot right next to the one containing Fan's head. They even used the same chopsticks for both pots. Fan Man-yee's head was stuffed inside a Hello Kitty doll, while the rest of her body was destroyed. Only her skull, a single tooth, and some of her internal organs were found in a plastic bag. Other parts of her body were discovered in various locations across the city. Before being arrested, Chan Man-lok lived with his wife, Sang Bo-ling, and their newborn child. Their apartment was raided by the SWAT team early on May 28th. Sang Bo-ling was initially suspected of involvement in the murder, but was soon released after an alibi was established. After the murder was exposed in the news, Liang Weilun quickly fled to Guangxi, China, and was placed on Interpol's wanted list. He was eventually arrested on February 14, 2000, after abnormalities were found in his passport. On December 7, 2000, the three criminals were convicted of manslaughter. Although the jury could not determine whether the three intended to kill, they concluded that Fan Man-yee died from the injuries inflicted on her. In court, Chan Man-lok and Liang Xingqiu did not plead guilty to murdering Man-yee, but they did not deny dismembering her body. Chan's wife, Man-yee's ex-husband, and her aunt also testified in court. You may wonder how this crime was exposed when the three murderers had a fairly clean plan to dispose of the body, and it took a month for the police to confirm that the skull inside the Hello Kitty doll belonged to Fan Man-yee. It was because there was not only Chan Man-lok, Liang Xingqiu, and Liang Weilun, the cold-blooded killers, present. A 14-year-old girl named Feng, who was reported by many sources to be Chan Man-lok's girlfriend, was also there when Fan Man-yee was tortured. In May 1999, Feng went to a Hong Kong police station to report a strange incident related to the supernatural. She told the police she had been haunted by the ghost of a woman for weeks. She described witnessing horrifying scenes of torture involving electric wires. Naturally, the police didn't believe a word from a 14-year-old girl without evidence. But when she mentioned that the ghost in her nightmares was connected to a murder, the police began to take her story seriously. They followed her to the Hello Kitty apartment and found that what she had said was true. The reason for such detailed and vivid accounts is because Feng was there. Worse still, she was the fourth person involved in torturing Fan Man-yee. Although heavily manipulated by Chan Man-lok, Feng was an incredibly callous girl. She was young, but old enough to know right from wrong. She assisted the others in torturing Man-yee, even laughing and feeling satisfied while doing so. Some of the torture games were devised by Feng herself, and she directly carried them out. When the police asked her why she did such horrible things, she simply replied, "Because I thought it was fun." Even though she was one of the direct perpetrators, to get crucial information about the case, the police agreed to grant immunity and protect Feng's identity. Part of this was because she was only 14 at the time, and in court, she testified against the other three in exchange for her freedom. While it's true that thanks to her the crime came to light, I still feel incredibly outraged and unfair that Feng is now completely free and doing whatever she wants after contributing so much to Fan Man-yee's death. Judge Peter Nguyen sentenced the three murderers to life imprisonment without parole. He stated, "This was one of the most cruel, callous, depraved, and brutal cases this court has ever seen in Hong Kong." According to psychological evaluations of the three killers, they showed no remorse or regret for what they had done. Chan Man-lok and Liang Weilun are still serving their life sentences at Stanley Prison, one of the 6 most secure prisons in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, Liang Xingqiu succeeded in reducing his sentence from life to 18 years. He was released in April 2014. However, 8 years later, in August 2022, Xingqiu was imprisoned again after molesting a 10-year-old girl. The apartment building where the crime took place was demolished in September 2012 and rebuilt as a hotel called Soravit in 2016. 3 Buddha portraits were placed in the hotel as a memorial for this case. Fan Man-yee's necklace was given to her son after it was discovered in a refrigerator during the investigation. There were rumors that Fan Man-yee's son and ex-husband currently live in Singapore. The publicity surrounding the case led to the production and release of films. Both Human Pork Chop and There Is a Secret in My Soup were released in 2001 in China, based on the Hello Kitty murder case. The video ends here, If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a like. Thank you for watching. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.